Suzanne Washington, I'm really pleased to introduce her. She's the CEO of Meals on Wheels. Now, our club has a long history with Meals on Wheels. In fact, back in 2002, they let me on their board. But then after 6 years, they couldn't take anymore, so they kicked me off. Worth Caldwell was instrumental in the building of the new headquarters and the kitchen. And of course, Ron Atwood has been very active with many of the projects, as well as Mark Chapin. So Suzanne has been the CEO since 2014. Before that, she was 25 years with Impact Northwest. Now, I wasn't familiar with Impact Northwest, but I looked it up, and it's a nonprofit organization which, among other programs, helps to prevent homelessness, which is a good thing. Let's prevent it before it happens. Suzanne has a Bachelor of Science degree in education from that other university, University of Oregon. But she redeemed herself by getting a master's degree in psychology from the United States International University. She has an interesting background as a teacher, a coach, a professional basketball player in South America and Australia. She also was the head coach of the Cleveland High School women's basketball team for 8 years before retiring in 2017. And she is also on the board of the Oregon Hunger Task Force. So without further ado, Suzanne, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate that introduction. Usually when people say I coached or that I played basketball, all the questions at the end are about that. So happy to answer them. And I did actually play for the first professional league here in the States for San Francisco, which most people don't even know existed because it didn't last too long. Anyway, thank you for having me. I'm going to share my screen. And while I do, I want to say, please ask questions anywhere along the way. It is completely okay with me to shout out and ask me anything along the way, like I say. So many of you know Meals on Wheels people and have been involved through the years. Your Rotary Club has been especially supportive. And I really want to thank Ron, Tony, Phil, those of you I know, and I'm very sad to say I will miss Worth, and I know he was a big part of your organization. So just in honor of Worth, I'm happy to be here today. So our mission, as you know, most of you know, it really is, okay, is my screen going to share? Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Because it's not transferring. Let's see. There we go. So our mission, again, is to make sure we feed older people, but beyond that, we want to make sure that they're also in a good situation and can retain their independence, but be healthy and safe doing that. So we provide a lot of social support and that human connection. We also use part of our mission is to use our expertise in making sure other people that have food insecurity can get what they need if we have that capacity. So we do have contracts with many other folks, including our Meals for Kids program, where we feed other folks with that same model that we use for older people, where we deliver food to their door. And our vision with that is really no senior will go hungry or experience social isolation, which is, we all know is huge and through the pandemic has gotten much worse. We do have a strategic plan. That's that funny kind of looking picture on your screen on the left. We do a strategic plan. We actually use it. We have imperatives and initiatives that we're working on, but we always have sort of these evergreen commitments for financial excellence, for service excellence. So I'm going to approach today as kind of as the CEO, what my job since I've arrived here at Meals on Wheels, which is fantastic. I love being here, but I've really focused on these three things that you see on the screen. That we are an employer of choice so that we get the best staff possible working for us so they can do their very best work and we can provide that excellence in service. And without the best staff and we treat them right, very challenging to make sure our service is great. And to do that, we need resources, capacity, like I was just talking about. We need people, we need volunteers, and we need money to do these things. So that's been my focus over the last 7 years of being at the organization. And so I wanted to talk from that angle. Employer of choice means to us that we really have to pay our people a decent wage. And I know you probably see in the news constantly how people are having a hard time hiring, they're losing people, there's something better, you know, the grass is always greener somewhere else. So our minimum wage at our organization for any position, no matter if it's a cook, a dishwasher, a client services worker, that our minimum wage is $17 an hour. And we moved to $15 an hour about 3 years ago. And during the pandemic, we really learned we have to step it up even greater. So that is helping us retain our staff and attract new staff. We also implemented a 4-day work week. And so staff that are really on those front lines every day, working with people, getting food out the door, talking with older folks and solving issues, they have that extra day on the weekend to just regenerate, refocus, and be able to really serve people well when they come back to work. We offer wellness programs. We do employee resource groups so everyone feels supported and the staff lead those groups. We were able to provide, because our fundraising has been good, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we were able to provide hero pay. And I had a conversation with one of my staff people just recently that his wife is a nurse at one of the big hospitals, has been on the front line through the pandemic the whole way and did not get a penny in a bonus or extra pay or anything. And they are really seen the worst of it. Where my folks, we were able to provide hero pay, little different than being in the hospital on the front line there, but we're still meeting with people, interacting, making sure people were getting to their door and getting them food and that connection. So we've been pretty fortunate, and our staff feel pretty special about being able to be acknowledged in that way. And I think that's all helped us really attract and retain our staff. As you can see there, our retention rate so far this year is at 89%. That is way above the norm for nonprofits, and at this point, most are for-profit businesses as well. So that's constantly in one of the things that my crew and myself we're working on to make sure we can do that. I can't see all of you, so if you do have a question, please just unmute yourself and ask that question, or you can just mark it and we'll do it at the end. So through the pandemic, we have served anywhere from 3,700 meals that we make every day to 8,000. At the height of the pandemic, we were doing about 8,000 meals a day to get it to everybody who needed it, that were now homebound. They had no other resource to get food in their homes. It's dropped off, and it's somewhere around 5,000, 5,500 right now, where people were not quite as homebound because we had to close our dining centers. So they came on the roles of delivery. Many of those people now are finding other resources. They're more mobile, they can get out. So it's dropped off a bit, and we're in that, like I say, 5,000 range. Again, in the height of the pandemic, we got up to provide 1.5 million meals in 2021. So a big jump from our normal kind of 1.1, 1.2 meals. And the great thing about that is, again, we have that capacity. We are efficient as possible in our central kitchen, our commercial kitchen, about how we produce meals. We're able to be flexible. Our staff really were able to adjust and really change on a dime how we did things. And so it really is a testament to them and our volunteers, and I'll get to volunteers in a minute as well, that just really stepped in and helped us change the way we did business to meet the rate. of and meeting what people need. So one of the things we did here also to meet our client need was beyond providing the frozen meal, because we had to switch to a frozen meal. Those of you who delivered know we used to do a ready to heat meal or a hot meal. We had to switch everything to frozen meals, but we also added supplemental food. And what we're hearing from our clients is they really like that and they would like that to continue. So we provide those entree meals, and then we're providing apples, oranges, fresh fruit of some kind, loaves of bread versus a little dinner roll, desserts. We may provide cottage cheese and hard-boiled eggs. So we're trying to provide extra food so somebody could get like a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jelly, so they could make a sandwich for lunch, or they could make a piece of toast for breakfast and put some peanut butter on it, those kind of things. So really make sure they had enough food, especially through the pandemic. But that we've already heard they really like that. So we'll continue that as we move forward here and come out of this darn pandemic. And our client satisfaction rate is 95%. That was the end of 21. And our survey just went out to folks this month. So we'll be hearing what it is. But usually it's up in those 90%, partly just because people are grateful for food. But what we've really heard this year is the quality of our food. We've moved to a medically tailored, heart healthy meal. It's a food as medicine standard. It allows us, we moved to a deeper tray that provides more food, and it also allows us to do that medically tailored meal because we have more options to get the nutritional value and taste into the meal. So the clients we're hearing from really appreciate that and like the variety, as well as that extra volume and the extra taste. So we have to meet regulations for that nutrition, and that extra volume helps us provide different flavor profiles, which people really like. The other thing we really focused on, which is we really stepped up in our strategic planning. It was a focus, but because of the pandemic, we really pushed it forward more than we were, and that is just connecting with people. And given how bad it is to be isolated and alone as you age, it's like you've probably all heard, it's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day, as how bad it is for both your mental, physical, and emotional health. So we kicked off several programs that we were testing, right, ways to use technology to connect with people, telephone, book groups. We stepped up our wellness checks and friendly chat calls, all to just connect with people. And through last year, we chatted with more than 6,000 participants who signed up and said, yes, I want to participate and I want people to call me and chat. So the friendly chat program and that wellness check calls, we did over 120,000 calls throughout last year. And partly that's because we're delivering less often. So most of you know we delivered once a week. We used to deliver once a week so we could check on people at their doors. And with the pandemic, we couldn't do that. We went to a once a week delivery for most people. We customize for those who don't have a freezer or a refrigerator. We can still get out meals to some folks where we're delivering more often, but most people went to a once a week delivery. And it just wasn't enough to keep tabs and make sure people were okay in between their deliveries. So these wellness check calls and friendly chats really helped us connect with people, make sure they're not lonely, they have somebody to talk to. If there's a problem in the home, we'll know it. In fact, I wanted to tell you one just quick story. I do friendly chat calls every week just to help out and connect with our clients and see what they need. And I was talking to this gentleman, but it was about 2 weeks before the big snow, which wasn't much of a snow this year, but that little bit of snow, I should say, we had. But it was cold. And I was chatting with him, and he had 2 space heaters on, and he had them in his bedroom, and they were barely keeping up with just keeping him, if he stayed in one place and bundled up in blankets, barely keeping up to keep him warm enough. He could not move around the house, really. He had no weatherization. And so we chatted long enough, and I got enough information that I went back after the call, and he was pretty frustrated because he had tried to get services. He wasn't getting anywhere. And he was really freezing to death, is what I'd like to say. I went back when I got off the call and went to one of my client service workers, who then met with him, did an assessment, got him signed up for energy assistance, got him signed up for weatherization, made sure he had enough resources and had assistance to get through this winter without freezing to death. And that's the kind of thing we've been able to do. Again, back to service excellence. If we have good staff, we can pivot, we can get that done, and we have to have the resources to do it. And that's the kind of thing we've really been focusing on, kind of going beyond that meal to make sure people are safe in their homes. So our fundraising, our funding has been going very well. We only get between 25 and 32% of our funding from the federal government. A lot of people think Older Americans Act pays for everything we do. They pay very little, actually, about 27% of what we need every year to meet the volume and the need in the counties we serve. And we serve the metro area and across into Clark County and Vancouver and that area in Southwest Washington. So we're always fundraising. And as you have always participated for our MLK site and running the old jambalaya event and then jumping into Stride for Seniors, we're always fundraising to make sure we can get out meals to everybody who needs it. And that fundraising is between contracts. So our Meals for Kids contract that I mentioned earlier, Portland Children's Levy pays us fully to support low-income families who need food in the city of Portland. And all of those funds then that we use come straight from that Children's Levy. It helps us spread our overhead out, and that saves money that we put back into our program feeding older adults. So we've got about 15, 16 contracts similar to that where we feed other folks, transitional housing projects, mental health buildings and programs, and that helps fund it. So between our fundraising, our contracts, and our investments, we're doing pretty well on the fundraising, and that really supports our ability to treat our staff well and provide the services we do provide and never have a wait list. We continue to, I'm talking fast, so again, slow me down if you need to. We continue to have the highest rating in our Charity Navigator and GuideStar, two sites that oversee the nonprofit world and how we're doing. So we manage our money well and have those highest ratings there. We also are and have been chosen into that 100 best nonprofits the last 3 years in a row. And again, that was one thing when I got to Meals on Wheels people, one of the things we really heard is we needed to support our staff better, provide better benefits, support, and wages. So that's been really great to get us up into that 100 best nonprofits. And then last year, for the first time ever, we were one of the 100 best green workplaces to work for. And we'd really tried to do a lot of work on making sure we are operating in a more sustainable way, that we provide better environmental processes. So for example, we don't ship any of our meals in cardboard anymore. We use plastic crates, so they're reused, and we've cut down in thousands and thousands of pounds of cardboard, just as an example. So volunteers is a huge part of our ability to do what we do. Without volunteers, there's no way we could serve as many people that we do. Right now, we have fewer volunteers than we did 2 years ago before the pandemic, because we delivered and used volunteers to deliver meals every day to every person we served. And because we had to go to that once a week delivery, we do not have as many drivers. As you can see, we have about just close to 1,000 volunteers right now. And the hours they've been providing this year's 90,000 so far. And that is a huge, that equates to about $2.5 million. So volunteer labor is extremely valuable, and we do not take it for granted. We try to support our volunteers as well and make sure they have what they need. And we're really, really appreciative of it. And it's just like people like yourselves who've delivered for years and years and years. We do keep in contact with volunteers. Right now, our 99% satisfaction rate for the volunteers. There'll be a survey coming out again for folks soon, because we want to make sure if our volunteers aren't happy, then it hurts us. So we want to make sure volunteers are happy. We always do need more volunteers. Like that earlier slide, we use about 600 people right now. We're making friendly chat calls, and we need more. We need people who speak various languages. We have a lot of clients who would like to have more contact, and we just need more volunteers. So you can go to mowp.org to find out all the opportunities, not just friendly chatting. But if you're a person who likes to talk on the phone, talk to a few clients a week, that would be fantastic. And a couple other things I just wanted to highlight. And again, because we have this fantastic board of directors and volunteers and resources, we were able to try out the Diner Vancouver. It opened just before the pandemic. So it's been closed part of the last 2 years, just like a congregate dining site. What we wanted to do is give our clients more opportunity to have choice about when they ate, what they were going to eat, who they were going to eat with. They could eat breakfast, they could eat brunch, they could eat lunch, they could eat later in the day. So the Diner Vancouver has been a wonderful spot to feed older folks, as well as just a general community. It is that opportunity to create intergenerational dining, get to know people. You may not want to go into one of our traditional dining centers and sit with 10 people at a table, but you could go sit at the counter at the diner and still have conversation with your servers and the people behind the counter and that kind of thing. So it really is providing great choice for folks. And it's a good experiment so far with the pandemic. It's thrown it off, but we're back open, and we do point in time counts. And at this point, probably 60% of those who eat there are older folks. And it is open to our participants where they can donate towards their meal if they're enrolled in our program. Another really amazing thing that's happened is we did get a Mackenzie Scott grant. You probably know she's the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos with Amazon and has her own money, and has been pledged to give out billions of dollars. And last April, she gave us an $8 million grant to use how we felt, to use any way we needed to serve our mission. So one of the issues we were having is running out of space at our central kitchen in the Multnomah Village. In fact, we've been renting freezer space in Clackamas for the last 2 years because we haven't had enough freezer space to meet the need. So we purchased, with part of that money, we purchased this new building on the east side of Portland. It's right on 82nd Avenue, Southeast 82nd Avenue, across from Eastport Plaza, those of you who are familiar. And our hope is that it helps us establish a hub on every side of the river. So one of the things we saw last year was with the big snow we had last year, our electricity in Multnomah Village was actually shut off for a week, and we could not produce meals. This will allow us, anytime we have a disaster, urgent situations, whether it's weather, fire, earthquake, we will have a hub on the east side of the river, the west side of the river, and across Columbia River in Clark County. And that we can make sure we have both shelf-stable meals, frozen meals, and the ability to produce meals if any one site goes down. It also will move our Meals for Kids program there, because 75% of those we serve are on the east side, in Mid-County and East County, the east side of Portland. And so our program is going to move out of Multnomah Village and provide a better hub for volunteers to get food out to our Meals for Kids. And we hope to move one of our dining centers into the building as well. So this is just a from the sky look down. It all needs to be remodeled. And the one part that was newer, let's see if I can poke this back part here. And if you can see my pointer, is a big warehouse, and we are working on phase 1 to get freezers and coolers built into that so that we can immediately get out of the very expensive freezer space in Clackamas and move it to our own space, which will save us about $8,000 a month actually. So we're doing sort of a soft campaign and raising money to remodel this program. And like I say, we did not have to borrow any money because of that grant. and we've already raised about 1.6 million in the dollars to remodel it. So that is very exciting for all of our staff, volunteers, clients to be able to provide additional access and services to the east side. As a reminder, Stride for Seniors is coming up, and I know you've all been involved there at the East Portland Rotary. This is part of your crew from the past. Stride for Seniors is actually our big event. For those of you who don't know, it's a big walking event that we started about 4 years ago. It's at the Portland International Raceway. The last 2 years it's been virtual, but this year we're back in person at the Raceway in April. And my screen is so darn small, I don't know if you can even see it. There we go. April 16th, it's back. We'd love to have your participation. I know Tony Lineweber is probably chomping at the bit, and Ron Atwood to talk about it. And I think that was all from me. So I will stop there. Actually, in honor of Tony Lineweber, this is his part of a joke, which is sort of real. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. Meals on Wheels, we're always there. We're willing to do just about anything, even when it's pretty tough out, even through the pandemic and anything else that comes our way. We are always going to be out there making sure we get those who need meals fed. So Tony, thank you for that cartoon. And now I'll stop sharing and answer questions.
Suzanne, this is Phil again. I have a question. At one time, Meals on Wheels was designated as a critical organization when there's a catastrophe in Portland, and to have meals ready to go or provide meals during a catastrophe. Is that still the case, and has the city given you any money for that?
It is still the case. We are one of those sites designated in an emergency, our Multnomah Village site, to be accessible to the neighborhood, be able to get medication out the door if need to. That could be a hub for that. Provide food, shelter where people could also come charge their cars if they have an electric vehicle, if it can get around in a vehicle, or the phones and that kind of thing. We've never gotten money from it, from the city or the county that I know of anyway, not recently, if at all. Yes,
Dave
Mr.
Miller.
Miller.
Suzanne, I'm David Miller. I'm the Director of Oak Services with Goodwill Industries, and we were talking about recruiting or finding good help. Do you participate in job fairs? And if you're interested, we host several free job fairs if you're looking for an outlet to try to recruit some good staff. Yes,
we're always on the hunt. My HR person that is always kind of out there. If you email me, Dave, that'd be great. It's just Suzanne, SUZANNE .Washington @MOWP.org.
Okay, I will have a staff member of mine reach out to you folks.
That'd be great, and I'll get my folks on it if we haven't already.
Thank you.
Yes, Ron.
Hey, Suzanne, thank you for coming. I just wanted to add one little bit to your introduction. I understand you have been titled a cool girl by Sock It To Me. So tell us what that is.
What? Sock It To Me, they manufacture socks and masks, and through the pandemic, they did a big mask push, and they I don't know. They designated me as a cool girl, and why? Probably because we were able to stay in business and keep everybody fed that needed it.
Well done.
How about Shantu? You're on.
You're muted, Shantu.
For the wellness check, do you have the mobile medical unit that can check on the seniors who cannot go or drive to the doctor's office? You can provide the nurses who can check the blood pressure, whether they took the medicine or not, or what are their problems, those kind of things. Do you have any mobile medical units, just like a Meals on the Wheels?
We connect to those folks. So we don't do that ourselves, but through that's why we do the wellness check calls. So if we find out somebody is in need of anything on the health side, food side, we're going to get them food right away. But anything else, like I said, with that story around the gentleman who had no heat in his home, we're going to step in and use our client services to get him connected to the people who do it, or be able to bring our own person in. In most situations like weatherization, there's already people doing it. There's already people doing energy. We just help them get signed up for it. Same with anything medical or health-wise. We work with Kaiser, Providence, all the players really, and get them connected to somebody who can help them establish a primary home, health care home, or whatever it is they need. Tony?
Okay.
Oops. Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. Thanks very much. First, I wanted to give credit where credit is due, and that's to our intrepid drive shaft reporter, Ron Enna, because that cartoon, that photo that you showed, I shared with her, Ron, and I took liberty, but I thought it was really topical that it came out just before she was going to speak here, so I thought it'd be good. The other, though, back, and I'm going to say back when Worth and I were both on the board at Meals on Wheels, so we were involved in the funding to build that headquarters and central kitchen that you're operating in now, and I applaud you for the foresight to do what you're doing. The question is, at that time we were projecting that we would need to be able to accommodate the baby boom population, and that is flooding. They talk about it being a tsunami. It's not a tsunami. Tsunamis come and then they go. The baby boomer population is here and going to last for a long time because we're extending the life expectancy of older Americans through better health care. Given all of that, is the capacity going to last into the 2040s, or is there a long-range plan where we have to bolster that? And is it through something like what you're doing in Southeast?
Yeah, it's interesting because that commercial kitchen in the building is fantastic shape. Y'all did a great job in the design and the building of that. The issue is not so much the cooking capacity, it's the packing, the freezer, the fridge, the inventory capacity. And so what we're hoping to do by establishing a hub on each side of the river is that we have more storage capacity. For example, those emergency meals, so that we have shelf stable meals and frozen meals that if the power goes out everywhere, we can still get people food, and we have that generator capacity. So the East Side building will provide that for the East Side. We have in Vancouver in Patton Parkway, it's called, we have a warehouse that we have a big freezer and refrigerator and storage space. They can't cook out there, but they've got the shelf stable and frozen meals. And then at the new building, we will also be able to have a commercial kitchen that will be shared with our dining site. Our bakery is going to move out there. So then it frees up the Multnomah Village site to use the refrigerator and freezer capacity that it does have to act as that hub for the west side, to make sure that if there is an earthquake and there's issues on the west side, that we have enough food there, because right now we don't have enough food stored there. It's just not big enough for that. It can cook, it can make those 8,000 meals a day, but there's nowhere to put them beyond that, really 4,000 or 5,000 a day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And fellow Rotarians, now you know why we're such a fan of the leadership at Meals on Wheels people. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks, Tony. How about, I think, Richard, you have your hand up?
Yes, Suzanne, thank you very much for your remarks. And I agree that you are a cool girl.
Thank you.
I wonder if you have thought about the idea of linking Meals on Wheels recipients with each other to provide a social network, a buddy network, so that these folks can keep in touch with each other and provide social nourishment for each other in that way.
Yes, actually, we've been working on it for several years, testing out and piloting programs. For example, we just did a partnership with Community Cellular to get grandpads in people's hands and get them connected through virtual book groups. and recipe making, all these various things. We call it peer-to-peer connect, where you can actually, what we heard from a lot of folks is if they see them, talk to them in sort of a facilitated group, once they got to know each other, they would continue, it'd be like making a new friend, right? You continue to have conversations and connect through the telephone in whatever ways. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work. We're trying different ways to do that. We have plans at the new building to do this kind of intergenerational tech connect center, where people could come in if they're still mobile, but they're not super great with technology, or they don't have very many friends, neighbors, family around. They could come in and take a trip to Ireland, for example. They all put on their virtual headset and they're taking a trip together. And through that process, they get to know each other. And now I can call you, right? Now I know Tony Lineweber and say, hey, Tony, what are you doing this weekend? What book are you reading? Whatever it is. So we're trying all sorts of things like that. The other thing that I think is really important and is going to get bigger and bigger is sort of home share programs. So I just got off the phone before this meeting to talk with the Home Share Oregon folks about, we have a lot of older people that live in a home. They're not cash rich, they're home rich, so to speak. They're living on a fixed income. It's getting harder and harder to maintain their home. They're lonely in their home. And so how can we share? How can we help facilitate two people to come together and rent a room or live together, that then they can support each other in a way that makes sense, where they have both companionship and a little bit help with the funding to make sure they can stay in their own home. So we're exploring all sorts of things like that. One of the big ones is our Meals for Kids program, to use those families to help support technology for older people, that you could drop in, you're still mobile enough, you can take the bus, you can come into our site, and there is, a 12-year-old with their dad there, and on a Saturday morning, and you can say, hey, my phone doesn't work anymore, I don't get it, what do I do? And they're gonna sit there and talk with you and fix it. And so we want to create sort of a synergy of intergenerational people who are all trying to accomplish the same thing, and give people opportunities to make new connections. And as they, if they get used to technology, then as they age and get into their older years, they're able to stay up with technology with a little support from us and others we partner with. So all sorts of things on that front.
Suzanne, thank you. And thank you for all the various things you do for seniors and for connecting people. We appreciate being able to work with you, and have enjoyed it through the years, and look forward to it in the future. So applause to you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to answer questions or do anything along the way that you need. Just let me know.